Hey, so now that Miles has kind of jumped into what computational design is and giving you a look into some Grasshopper workflows to choose different views, we're going to jump into now how do we take those views and use AI or generative AI to create some images for your presentation boards. Today we're going to be looking at lookx.ai. So a good number of you have probably already used ChatGPT, Claude, and other generative AI models, LLMs. But lookx.ai is an AI generation platform that is specifically designed for architects, interior designers, and urban planners. So when you're using this, it already has in mind that your inputs are going to be architecture or design related, and it's not going to give you um, a bunch of junk, basically. And I think the prompt engineering is probably a little bit more seamless, as you'll see during the demo. So I'll go through a few things, different capabilities in the free version, which you all have access to, is image rendering, image editing, and then some real-time generation capabilities as well. So although this is a recording, you guys can make a lookx.ai account. And when you make that account, just log in with your email and you'll get 100 credits. And each time you use the software, it uses one of those credits. You actually have 100 uses for free, which is great. So first we'll jump into image rendering. So first, I'll go through these steps in the actual demo, but you'll upload a base image, usually a shaded view from Rhino. You're going to upload a style image. So looking for inspiration, kind of what kind of rendering that you're interested in. It looking like kind of the atmosphere, the lighting, the general vibe of the image. You'll choose the model. We'll go into that during the demo, rendering type, and then similarity. So all these things you can kind of use to um, prompt the AI to kind of do what you want, but also kind of fine tune that through each generation as you're looking through it. So I mentioned prompt engineering, and this is a big thing in any use of AI to get the AI to do exactly to get the output that you're more interested in and kind of lead it the way that you want. Because as we know, these models can hallucinate and will kind of make up and have their own idea of what you want or what they think the answer is. Um, so I'll go through kind of specific prompt engineering for lookx.ai. So here is an example prompt that I kind of did based off y'all's project brief for this year's competition. So first you want to talk about the project type. So in this example, I just put it's a living museum and the Marine Life Research and Education Center. So that tells it exactly what kind of project it is. And then we go into architectural characters. So you want resilient tropical coastal architecture. Again, this kind of takes it down and narrows it down. What kind of project or what kind of architectural character is this project type that I just made? And then after that, the site and environment. And I think for doing site context, which is what we'll most be looking at today, this is probably will be the biggest or most important part of the prompt. So here you can see that I put in historic Virginia Key Beach Park in Miami, restored mangrove ecology, native coastal vegetation. So you can actually give it exactly where you want the context to be, and then just describing kind of what that site environment actually is and what you want to see. And you can also see that I put Biscayne Bay is blue. Um, oh, yeah, Biscayne Bay is blue. And then the gray are two-lane roads. The orange is native coastal plantings. So you'll see that during the demo that I actually made the different areas of and different objects inside of my input image, different colors, so that I could clearly say, I want the orange to be this, I want blue to be this, and that's very easy for it to catch on to. Next, we'll kind of narrow down even further into materials. So what kind of materials do we want to see in the site? So porous landscape pathways, warm concrete, weathered limestone. And then narrowing down even further, what kind of activity and entourage do we want to see in this overall site scene? So visitors gathered in shaded public courtyards, researchers and students interacting with marine exhibits. So again, this can expand and contract as you see fit. And then lastly is the overall rendering style, which it will take from that input render image that you'll see. But again, this is kind of your chance to be able to kind of adjust What's the lighting? What's the atmosphere? Is it mid-morning? Is it mid-afternoon? Is it a night shot? Is there a full moon? Is it cloudy? That kind of a thing. Yes, we'll switch over to the demo now. So here you'll see the lookx.ai home interface is kind of a landing page. And so up here you can see that I've already logged in, but up here there'll be a login button. And you'll create your either create your account or log in with an existing account. You'll see here that I have 55 of these tokens left. And like I said, when you log in, you'll have 100. And so in preparing for this demo, I've used quite a few of them, but I've been able to make a lot of things with this free content, which is amazing. So first we'll do image renderings. We'll start kind of making our base image. So you'll go over here on the left under image tools, and you go to image rendering. Once you click on that. And then this is kind of the image rendering interface. So you can see that I already have uploaded a base image from Rhino. This is just straight up screenshot in a shaded view from Rhino at like a bird's eye OXO view. And then in this image, you can kind of see what I was talking about on the prompt engineering slide, where I made the bay blue because water, the orange, which is kind of the natural vegetation area, the gray, which is that road system and parking lanes, and then the blue and the red are, the blue is our main massing, and then the red are kind of those site buildings. Again, this gives you a chance to be able to kind of connect, okay, I put this image in and this is what the colors I'm labeling it as. And then in my prompt, I can kind of connect those colors to what I want to see those colors being. In my experience, that was very helpful. So you're not going to start with a base image already loaded. So you'll just click the space image. It'll take you to your file explorer, Mac or Windows, and you'll be able to upload your image. And you'll start where I am. Second, I talked about style. So this allows you to upload, again, that style image. So I chose a similar-ish image where it's kind of this like bird's eye looking over kind of a green park with some buildings in it and kind of this maybe early morning soft feed light feeling, which is what I enjoyed and wanted to emulate. And so we've kind of got our base and then what we're kind of looking for. So then over here, we'll have our model. So you can hover over this and they'll give you different options for different models because you'll be using the free version, or if you choose to not use the free version, you'll be able to use Gen 4 and Gen 4 Pro, which again, they've just developed a lot further. But the highest model or the most recent model you'll be able to use in the free version is the 3.5. But of course, you can, if you're not getting the results that you want, you can play around with these different models because they have different focuses and they also are slowly building on each other. So maybe you'll have better results with 3 or 2. This is something that you can kind of iterate and experiment with. Next is, so I'm going to use 3.5. Next is rendering. So you'll see here, this is not the type of rendering that you want to see. This is the rendering type of your input. So we can see here my input or my base image is this screenshot, which is in the shaded view. And so that's why I have blocked. So you can see here I hover over it and it says the base image is a model block view. So this is basically just what's your input. So you could also sketch something on a piece of paper, scan it and upload it. And then maybe you have more of like a refined, like low fidelity render from V-Ray or Enscape, and you can also iterate on top of that. But today we'll be looking at a more simple block version. And then here, base image similarity and style similarity. So this kind of gives the AI the idea of like how much free reign that you want it to have. So base image similarity, like if we put it at 0, AI might start adding, ooh, what if there's more water on the right side? Maybe there's more buildings. It gives it more creativity and more leeway to kind of add and subtract things, which might be helpful at an early concept phase of a project. But because this demo is kind of more geared towards the end of project and more in the vision making, or like object or apologies, like final image making, we'll put it all the way to the 1, which basically gives it the least amount of free reign to add and subtract things from that base image. Same thing with style. If you really want it to strictly adhere to like this type of style that we've input here, we'll keep it at a 1. So for my demo, that's what I'm going to do. And then seed is basically the trial number. So, um, if you wanted specifically what AI thinks that trial 10 is or 11, you can put very specific numbers, or you can use this to kind of shuffle it. But if you put -1, that's going to do a different seed each time, which I think, again, at the beginning is very helpful to kind of give you different options and what you can kind of begin to play with. So I'm going to keep that at -1, so it kind of does different seeds or different trials. If I put that at 10, it's going to keep doing what it thinks like trial number 10 is, or seed number 10. So that's all of this over here. And then down here, we have the generate button. So when we're ready, we can click generate. That's actually going to start the action. Here, we hover over this, and it has a number of creations. So actually, right now I have it set at 1, and each of these costs 1 token. But when I push generate, if I hovered over 4 and clicked 4, once I click generate, then that would actually generate 4 images for me. So if you're kind of wanting to go a little bit faster and kind of um, see roughly kind of what it's doing, especially with the -1, if you kind of want to go through more trials quickly, you can do 4 at a time instead of 1. But I'm just going to do 1 for today. And then here at the bottom is actually where our prompt goes. So you can see that I put the prompt in here from the slideshow presentation. Kind of again, following that same prompt layout. If you need a reminder, you can go back to the slides and look at that. It's a very helpful kind of recipe book for that. And then there's a few additional tools, which again makes LookX.ai really helpful over more generic models, where it actually has, if you're having trouble coming up with your own prompt, it has a dictionary here you can actually go through and kind of like piece together and select different words that are already built in to kind of help you put together your prompt, which is very helpful, especially if you're looking at architecture. Maybe this could be an interior rendering, planning, maybe more urban scale type things. So this is helpful to kind of get you thinking about how to prompt the AI from the system itself. Random prompt that just shuffles it and does something random. So again, maybe that's better for early concept phases, but that's also kind of an interesting experiment. And then AI elaborate, which basically the AI elaborates. So if I put in a prompt, I click that, it kind of takes different parts of your prompt and it elaborates on it. So maybe it thinks that you need more detail with the materiality, or maybe it'll elaborate on the type of activity that's going on in your scene. So it'll kind of add more things and give it more creativity for that. So we're gonna generate, and it only takes a few seconds. It shouldn't take too long. Well, that's kind of running. There's no dead air, and I don't have any jokes. Also, another thing on this interface is the record. So because you do have an account, all of these are stored in your account. So once you leave, log out, close the window, you don't lose all of these trials. They're stored in kind of this record bank. So if you kind of go down a rabbit hole and choose to kind of keep playing with one, but then you realize, I don't know, this isn't really what I want. I liked what I did, 4 trials ago. That's an option. And you can see some of those, because I was preparing for this demo, where I kind of did some of these previous ones. While we're waiting still, maybe 2 more buttons. This is just delete. So this deletes your base image. And then replace, you can actually replace that image, that base image. If you have a new view, the view changes to different colors, the other areas and stuff like that. It looks like we're almost ready. Okay, so looks like we've got, so yeah, it looks like it's decent. It made the gray our roads. It kind of made this area over here. I know on the actual map in Google Maps, this is a wooded area, but we have some odd what looks like pavement over here. It looks like the top of the building is filled with water. Um, this whole side along the bay, I don't think that's actually all a parking lot or concrete. So again, that's something, again, this isn't going to be perfect. So that's again why it's helpful to have this seed at -1 to kind of go through different iterations and experiments. Um, and there's a few different things here that we can do with it, especially download, which might be the most helpful to you. So that is the image rendering portion. And again, this is something that you can continuously play with. It's not a one size fit all. Like maybe this prompt that I'm using is, maybe prompting it to do things that are maybe a little bit more incorrect. But if you're generally happy with an overall image, but maybe that last 10% you just wanna edit, there's another tool that we can use, and I'm going to show you to kind of help you do that. So if we go back to the presentation. So the next thing is image editing. So again, like I said, once we have that base image that, after we've done some reps, like we think that 90% of it's pretty good. Our building's in the right spot, it's at a good scale. There's no random things that the AI model is adding. We're pretty happy with it, but maybe, there's some things we want to change. So this is also a very simple workflow of uploading our base image. We're going to select our modified areas. You can see here with this purple paintbrush or a pen tool. So on this right, I wanted to change this. And then we put in a new prompt. So I put native coastal trees, no buildings, no streets, no water. I just want it to be those native plantings. And I put generate, and it will only operate on that purple area, which is great, kind of like more fine tuning. So yeah, we'll go into that demo really quickly. So we're on the landing page for the image editing. So we're gonna go up here to the house, which will take you to our landing page again. And then we'll go over here to image tools, and we'll go to image edit, which is at the bottom. Okay. And then I'm gonna upload our image. Okay. So let's say this is an image. I'm mostly happy with this. But over here on the right, like there's so many buildings that are not actually there. And over here, there's water. Or there's water, but there's also like this island or this other landmass that's kind of creeping in. So maybe I want to adjust that. So over here, we have two ways to do that. So we have the pen tool, um, which just like, in Illustrator and other um, tools, you're just going to create kind of your boundary. I'm going to do that. And so I want to change this area to just like native plantings. You can see once it connects, it creates that, and it's only going to adjust what's in that purple area. It's going to keep all this other stuff the same. Another way to do this is the brush tool, which is, again, very similar, just like a brush tool in Photoshop, where instead of creating a pen, maybe it's easier to do more broad swaths with a brush rather than kind of connecting the dots. So that's kind of personal preference. And then the eraser, I'm actually able to erase. So maybe I want to keep this water down here. Maybe erase this. All right. So once we have that, the area that we want to do, I have my same prompt from earlier, but we don't want a new living museum and research life center over here. Um, so you can be a lot more specific in your prompt. So I can say native coastal plantings, no buildings, no streets. Um, yeah, let's start with that. Again, you can be like a lot more specific with this image. I think it's a lot more zoomed in. And again, you have those same tools, our AI elaborate, where it can elaborate on it, random prompt, and then again that dictionary if you need assistance kind of making that prompt. So let's see what that does. And it takes about the same amount of time as the image rendering tool. So again, like a few seconds. So um, again, you can see, again, we have our record, so we can keep a record log of all the different edits that we've done. Um, some more tools over here. This is moves the view. So if you wanted to like actually crop it and like zoom in and be more exact, maybe with your pen tool, you can use this to kind of move it around. It's very intuitive. Reset view, if you have moved it, it resets it kind of where it started. And then undo, is undo, Control Z. And this just removes everything. If you completely want to start over and you want to get rid of your purple and you don't want to use the eraser, you're able to do that. And again, this might take a few iterations as well, just like the previous tool we were looking at. Still might hallucinate a little bit and maybe not listen exactly to your prompt. And this is where that prompt engineering is really helpful. Okay, so you can see that it just edited that area of the purple. It made it all those coastal plantings, and it even added like a body of water here, which I think there is a body of water on the actual site, maybe not that exact size. So maybe you could go in and kind of like use your paintbrush to edit that body of water size, maybe different areas. So this is kind of a lot more bare. Maybe you wanted more trees. So again, you can kind of see how you can keep iterating, um, iterating on this. Go back to slideshow. And so, yeah, that is lookx.ai, what we're going to go over today with image generation and also image editing. Some other generative AI tools that you could look at are Xfigura, Archihacks, Raven, Ant AI, Adobe Firefly, Aurochs AI, and then also these are maybe the more design-oriented one, but there always is Claude, ChatGPT, and other things to kind of experiment with. And I think as you start to use these different tools, you'll see that different ones, and maybe you've already seen yourself in using them, that different ones are good at different things based on the model or where model that they're trained on or where they're getting their data or what their focus is. And so that's why, again, I think to reiterate, lookx.ai is really great because it's already kind of honed in on what the subject matter is. You don't kind of have to lead it to that, like, oh, this is an architecture project. I want a site rendering. It's kind of already built in. So I think it takes a lot of that initial stuff or those initial steps away. So I think it's terribly helpful. And then to continue education from what Miles was talking about earlier in parametric design, Rhino inside Revit is a really powerful parametric tool, which connects, like it says, it puts Rhino inside of Revit. So Revit, as you know, is a documentation software, but maybe not inherently a design software. It's not as free form as Rhino is. And so this puts some of the capabilities of Rhino Grasshopper and allows you to actually do some of those things in Revit. So you can see how that being really powerful. And in the Google folder that we're going to be sharing, there's other continuing education, all of these links, and all of that for you to continue learning, building, and all of that. So thank you so much, and I hope you guys find all of these tools helpful. And we'll see you next year. And I can't wait to see what you guys make and all the competition entries at the conference.